The hunter's name was forgotten, lost to the mists of time. But his legacy was one of blood and slaughter. He had traveled the world, hunting every creature known to man. His trophy room was a testament to his obsession, filled with the heads and skins of his kills. One day, the hunter found himself in a remote forest, drawn by rumors of a legendary beast that roamed its depths. He had hunted many legendary creatures in his time, but this one seemed different. It was said to be a creature of pure evil, a manifestation of the hunter's own darkness. The hunter ventured deeper into the forest, his senses on high alert. The trees grew thicker, the air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to dance and flicker around him. He knew that he was getting close. Suddenly, the hunter found himself in a dense fog. The trees disappeared from view, and he was left alone in a swirling white void. He tried to retrace his steps, but the fog seemed to move with him, always keeping him disoriented. The hunter wandered through the fog for hours, his heart pounding in his chest. He began to feel a sense of dread, as if he was being watched. He could hear the distant sound of laughter echoing through the fog. It was a cruel, taunting laughter, as if something was mocking him. The hunter finally emerged from the fog, and found himself in a strange and alien landscape. The sky was a blood-red hue, and the ground was covered in twisted, gnarled trees. The air was thick with the stench of death. The hunter knew that he was in the realm of the damned. He had entered a world of his own making, a world where his darkest nightmares were made real. The hunter had never seen anything like it. Vultures, towering and monstrous, circled above him, their feathers aflame. They spoke not with words but with the language of anguish, shrieks and wails that resonated through the very core of his being. The hunter realized that these vultures were the souls of the animals he had killed, now transformed into instruments of vengeance. They had come to collect their due. The vultures descended upon the hunter, their talons outstretched. He fired his rifle, but the bullets seemed to have no effect. The vultures tore at his flesh with their beaks, their fiery feathers scorching his skin. The hunter screamed in pain, but his cries were drowned out by the vultures' infernal shrieks. He felt his life force draining away, and he knew that he was about to die. Suddenly, a ghostly stag appeared before the hunter. The stag had once been a magnificent creature, but now its antlers were tangled in barbed wire and its eyes were filled with sorrow. The stag spoke to the hunter in a telepathic voice. "You have wronged us," it said. "But it is not too late for redemption. Seek out the heart of this cursed land and confront the malevolent force that governs it. Only then can you find true forgiveness." The hunter nodded weakly. He knew what he had to do. He had to redeem himself for the sins he had committed. The hunter gathered his remaining strength and stumbled forward, the vultures still circling above him. He had to find the heart of this cursed land and confront the malevolent force that governed it. It was his only chance for redemption. The hunter's journey through the realm of the damned was a perilous one. He faced many dangers, but he never gave up. He was determined to find the heart of the cursed land and confront the malevolent force that governed it. The hunter crossed twisted landscapes and fought grotesque creatures. He encountered the spirits of the animals he had killed, each one seeking its revenge. But the hunter never faltered. He was driven by a newfound purpose, to redeem himself for his past sins. One day, the hunter came to a dark abyss. He knew that this was the portal to the heart of the cursed land. He took a deep breath and stepped into the abyss. The hunter found himself in a labyrinthine maze of torment. The walls were made of flesh and bone, and the air was thick with the smell of decay. The hunter wandered through the maze, facing new dangers at every turn. He was attacked by spectral creatures, their forms shifting and changing. He was chased by rivers of blood and fire. He was trapped in corridors that seemed to go on forever. But the hunter never gave up. He kept moving forward, driven by his newfound purpose. Finally, the hunter reached the center of the maze. There, he found himself in a vast chamber, its walls covered in the runes of an ancient and forgotten language. In the center of the chamber stood a colossal vulture, its wings casting shadows that blotted out the crimson skies. The vulture's eyes glowed with a malevolent fire, and its beak was dripping with venom. The hunter knew that this was the malevolent force that governed the cursed land. It was the embodiment of all the cruelty he had inflicted on the animals he had killed. The hunter drew his rifle and aimed it at the vulture. "It's over," he said. "I'm here to redeem myself from my sins." The vulture laughed. "You cannot defeat me," it said. "I am the darkness that resides within you. I am the embodiment of all your evil deeds." The hunter fired his rifle, but the bullet bounced off the vulture's feathers. The vulture laughed again, and its eyes burned with a brighter fire. The hunter realized that he couldn't defeat the vulture with conventional weapons. He needed to find another way. The hunter closed his eyes and focused his mind. He remembered the ghostly stag that had spoken to him in the forest. He remembered its words, "Only then can you find true forgiveness." The hunter knew what he had to do. He had to reach within himself and find the power to overcome his own darkness. The hunter opened his eyes and looked the vulture in the eye. "I'm not afraid of you," he said. "I'm not the same person I was before. I've changed." The vulture roared in anger and charged at the hunter. The hunter dodged out of the way and fired his rifle again. This time, the bullet hit the vulture in the chest. The vulture staggered backward, its eyes burning with hatred. It opened its beak to unleash a blast of venomous fire, but before it could do so, the vultures from hell descended upon it. The vultures from hell had once been the hunter's tormentors, but now they were his saviors. They tore at the vulture's flesh with their talons and beaks. The vulture screeched in pain as its dark essence was torn away. Finally, the vulture collapsed to the ground, dead. The vultures from hell circled around the hunter, their eyes glowing with gratitude. They had helped him to defeat his darkness and find redemption. The hunter stood over the vulture's corpse, his chest heaving. He had done it. He had defeated the malevolent force that governed the cursed land. The vultures from hell landed in front of the hunter and bowed their heads. They had recognized his transformation and now accepted him as one of their own. The hunter knew that he had changed forever. He was no longer the hunter he had once been. He was now a protector of the creatures he had once hunted. The hunter raised his rifle and fired a shot into the air. The sound echoed through the chamber, signaling the end of the nightmare. The ground beneath the hunter's feet began to shake. The chamber began to crumble, and the vultures from hell took to the air. The hunter closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He knew he was going to die, but at least it was with a free consciousness. When the hunter opened his eyes, he found himself back in the forest where he had begun his journey. The forest was no longer a place of death and suffering. Nature had reclaimed its dominion, and life thrived once more. The hunter smiled. He was alive. He knew that he had found redemption. He had dedicated his life to the preservation of the very creatures he had once hunted. The hunter turned and walked away from the forest, a new man. He had faced his darkness and overcome it. He had found the true meaning of life. The end. Don't forget to comment and like. Thank you.